Good afternoon, dear Stitchers. It's Judy with JBW Dsigns, and I want to welcome you back to my FlossTube channel. This is FlossTube number 76. Yes, 76. I think it is, yes. And it is May 31st, so it's the very last day of May. It's a beautiful day in Michigan. It's just lovely. So I'm as usual, I'm surrounded by things. Some of them are a little unsightly piles, so I try to keep them off here to the side. But first of all, I want to tell you about my adventure this morning, because I had the best of intentions to record a video right away when I got up. And then last night I got an email from Gail, and I want to thank Gail for writing to me, to let me know about an estate sale that was being held about an hour from here in Grand Rapids, and that they had antique samplers for sale. So immediately I thought, okay, how can I make this work? And I decided just to get up early, and I spent the morning up there. We waited in line. It was a lovely home full of beautiful antiques. I wish it was a little more successful. I wish I could report that it was a little more successful. I got there. Let me backtrack here. I don't go to estate sales very often, so I don't really realize how early one has to get there if you want to get anything really good. So obviously I didn't get there early enough, but anyhow, I stood in line. It was, as I say, a beautiful day, and we were in line probably 2.5 hours before we even got into the house. The inside rooms were quite small, so they were only letting in 5 at a time. And someone got there much earlier than I did, and I would say snapped up all of the treasures that I was hoping to get a look at. But I did get 2 little things. I'll tell you about those in my next video. But I met the nicest people standing there in line. It was just delightful. People, in fact, 2 women came up to us and said, "Oh, are you good friends?" And we said, "No, we just met each other 2 hours ago." When you're standing in line for that long, you start chatting, right? So anyhow, that was my little adventure for this morning, and now I am back at work and hoping to get this video out successfully. So first of all, I always like to thank you for all of the amazing comments and notes that I get about the previous videos. And I can tell you that the last video I did, I showed an antique christening dress that my mom had made, and that inspired so many stories. People sent me pictures of some of the dresses that were in their family. I heard one really sad story about a woman who lost a christening dress in Katrina, which is just heartbreaking, but it was fascinating. It really was. And so our little great-granddaughter was baptized 2 weeks ago, and I have permission from her mom and dad to show you Nevaeh's picture. She looked so precious in this dress. So here you can see her. She's very tiny, actually. She's 5 months old, but it was just a lovely ceremony, and you can imagine how thrilled I was to have her wear the dress once again. So let's see, what other things do I want to comment on? So one of the things that I did in the last video was I gave away 6 of the last copies I had of a booklet that I did in conjunction with Kansas City Quilt Company years ago. And the booklet was called Affectionately Yours. And I am so sorry that I didn't have more to give away. It was a first come, first serve, and I would say they were snapped up within the first 45 minutes. So, I felt badly that if I had more, I would have given more away. So thank you for being so interested in that. Let's see. As always, I have to glance at my notes to keep myself on track here. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is I have, of course, over the last few weeks, I haven't been on for a few weeks, I acquire things either online or through the mail, or I've actually created something that I wanted to share with you. So first I want to show you some of the treasures that I have gotten. I did go to an antique show last Sunday and only bought actually one item, so that didn't yield very much. But this one was quite unique. So you can see that it is a monogrammed towel, and it is French, and it actually had my initials on it. Now this I found online, and of course I didn't even know there were other JBWs. Why wouldn't there be? But I bought this beautiful towel. It has the most gorgeous hand stitching along the bottom here. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with it. I always say this when I show you these pieces of linen, but I think it would just make a beautiful pillow for my office. So that was one of my acquisitions. And then a second one you're going to probably laugh at a little, but I just love these. And you know, who knows how collections start, but I've started this collection of, they're actually like for a desk to hold letters, etc. And this is actually the largest one that I have. I own two other smaller ones. And how I use them in my office is I have a closet where I do my packing and sorting and finishing, etc. And I just hang them up on the wall. And then the notes that, you know, orders, back orders, orders that have come in, I just kind of put them all along the top. So that was one of the fun things that I found. This actually that I want to show you is, and share with you, was inspired by our shop that I featured last time, Colorado Cross Stitcher. And Sherry has done an amazing number, as I talked to you about, of Stitchy boxes, which are basically jewelry boxes that have been deconstructed, and many people are making these, but I've done one other one, but she inspired me. I just had this yen to make another one. So let me show you what I created. It was actually turned out to be quite a bit of work because I kept thinking of more things that I could do. So this is what the top of the box looks like. And after I finished actually the inside, I thought, oh, I need to do something on the top of the box. So, you know, I love unique monograms. So I found an alphabet in my collection and stitched my initials. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the finishing of this and kind of some of the things I encountered. So I don't know if you can hear that. It's like there's a door in this office that is kind of squeaking. It's kind of eerie, isn't it? So this is, if you can see it, I'll have to lift it up like this, is the inside of the box. And it took quite a bit of work actually. So I took out all the interior portions and I did some things a little differently this time. I put in just a pretty fabric liner in the bottom. And then, I don't know, it just came to me. And then I covered the little dividing sections with a contrasting fabric. And then I decided that I could make a pattern out of this piece that goes around the inner edges and cover it with fabric too. And it actually wasn't as hard as you would think. I just used you know, fabric glue, and actually Sherry uses just a glue stick, and that worked well too. And then I watched another a woman who was making these boxes, and I hadn't even thought about this before, but she actually took apart the whole top inside of her box. And I kind of like that idea. So it comes with this particular box, which I ordered on Amazon. I'll put the link in below of the name of the company actually. It comes with a little pocket that has elastic across the top. So I decided to eliminate that pocket and just make my own pocket. And you know, it's so much fun to find things to go in here. So I've got a little jar of antique buttons and a tiny little pin cushion that was made for me last year, a measuring tape. This is a little tube with needles in it. I'm waiting for a notebook to come. I ordered a notebook that would go with this. I've got a floss drop in here and just other little things. Oh, this, I love this. This is a little scissor fob. I want to give you the name of the gal that created these. I found that on Etsy. It's just darling. It has a little, picture of a Bristol sampler in it. And then I found some antique button cards, an antique calling card, a pin from Jersey Girl Stitch Company. So it just was so much fun to create and put together and think about what to add to it. I found a needle minder that I thought looked really sweet. So now to tell you about what I encountered, especially when I did the top of this. So I was trying to figure out what kind of glue I could use to adhere. So I'm going to do some finishing things today. That's on my planning list for today's video. But I first covered a piece of comic board with some batting and then my fabric. And then I did another board with my design on it, with the rickrack underneath it, and then I mounted that on top of that. So I was trying to figure out, long story here, how to get this attached to this leather top. And I wasn't sure what kind of glue would hold it. So I thought, well, I'll try Gorilla Glue. Well, I will tell you, be careful with that. I hadn't used it in a long time. Yes, it sticks things to other things beautifully. But one of the suggestions on the bottle was that, and I've done this before, is that after you do it, you put a weight on top to let it dry. And thank goodness I looked at it like after 4 or 5 hours instead of waiting a day, because it had actually, and this is a lesson to me, to not put it too close to the edges, it had seeped out beyond the edge of this. And it didn't look great. I was able to kind of peel away those extra fragments, but then I came up with the idea to just make some twisted cording, and then that covered the edges that were looking a little ragged. So that was my fun project. Always fun to be creative, right? We love doing that. Let's move on to questions from the last video. Karen asked me, what designers do I like to stitch? Which I thought was a good question. Let me take a quick drink of water. So I don't have a lot of time to stitch other designers, if I'm honest with you, because I stitch all of my own models. So almost all of the time I'm working on my things and not others. But I love to stitch other designers. There's no doubt about it. So I just showed you, I think a couple weeks ago, an Artful Offering design. I think it's on the chair right here, which I think her designs are just adorable. I stitched one that I showed you probably, I don't know, a couple months ago, a GGR, which was initials. And it's quite large. That was a 3-year project because it was so big. It was a red and white sampler, so I like GGR designs. Brenda Gervais, of course, has just got beautiful things. I stitched, I think, 1 or 2 of her Christmas pieces. I stitched a piece by Annie Bees. I think her designs are just charming. And I'm sure I've stitched others, but as I say, there aren't very many, mainly due to time constraints. The next question had to do, and this was a real interesting question, about, I showed in the last video where I get my inspiration for my designs. And in one case, I should have grabbed a piece of this, a piece of my Chinsware china, and I said that was the inspiration for my Chintz alphabet design. And she wanted to know, did I need to get permission from Chinsware to duplicate their designs? Well, I never duplicate exactly what is on the china, or, you know, I always change something in that element so that I'm not copying somebody else's work. And then the next question had to do with copyrights, and I thought this was a good question too. And maybe some of our viewers will weigh in on this to see if you know things that I'm not aware of. But in the beginning, when I first started designing, you had to register every design that you did with a copyright agency. So you had to fill out paperwork for everyone. I'm sure for the federal government, this was kind of a nightmare if you think about it. And at some point, and I don't know what year that would have been, they finally passed a law that all you have to do with the kinds of patterns that we produce is put on the back of the booklet. Let's just grab one here. This pattern is protected by U.S. copyright laws, which state that reproduction by photocopy is illegal. And I always put this phrase because I think it's an important one. However, a stitcher's aid, in other words, an enlargement, may be used by the owner of the leaflet. And many times people need to do that. They're having trouble seeing the design looks too small to them. And so, yes, you can make an enlargement. And as far as I understand, the antique alphabets, which, as you know, I use in many of my pieces, are not copyrighted as far as I know. So if you know something different, share that with me and we'll share it with our group on my next video. So one of the things that I like to do is share some of the, let's sort this so that I get it organized here. Some of the things that people post on my Friends of JBW Dsigns Facebook page, which is just a Facebook group. You have to join it. You have to just answer a few questions if you want to be a member. What I love about this group is people will photograph something of mine that they've done, and they tell me about the fabric they've used or the fibers, or most interestingly is the finishing. So this came from Laura. I think I've had this a while actually, but I don't think I've shared it before. But she stitched the Bluebirds of Happiness, and look at how clever her finish is. She's mounted it on fabric. She's stitched a tiny little button here, and I'm trying to figure out, it's a tiny little bird, I think, actually. And then she put some twine around here, and her frame is really quite interesting. So Laura, if you happen to watch this, let me know more about the frame, because the frame looks like it has been handmade. So I loved that. I'm always trying to find here where to put everything after I show it to you. So that was the design Bluebirds of Happiness, which came out, a year or so ago. And I thought her finish was just great. And then I also got, I have some pictures to show you. I'm sorry, my editing skills are a little weak. Some of my pictures are really small. So this week I got a wonderful one, and I love the story that goes with this. So this was from Paula, and she had stitched Melinda's marking sampler. And what I loved about it is she stitched it because I'm trying to think of how much. Let's see. Let me just double check in here. Okay, so I purchased this, and sometimes I forget where I got some of my antiques. This was purchased from a dealer in Kalamazoo. It was signed with the name and age of the stitcher, but not dated. But the signature, Melinda Farrell, I was able to track her down. And she was born in 1801, so she probably was about 12 when she stitched it. And she came from Troy, New York. And so Paula, who stitched this design, said, I live in the very same town. So I loved that story because it had meaning to her, and it will have meaning on her wall. So another one that I want to show you, and this came from Janice, and I just love her little rabbit next to the piece. So this is Rabbits in the Round, which I've shown you before, but look at how wonderful it looks in this lavender shade. And she finished it in a hoop, just a wooden hoop, and I loved the finish. I loved everything she did about it. And of course, Rabbits in the Round looks like this. And one of the things that I'm going to address today, and I've done it before, but I have new subscribers, is I'm going to review again how to finish a round. It's not going to be a long explanation. And I always try to preface this with, I am not a professional finisher. I know how to finish, and I finish some of my things. A lot of them I send out to those who truly are masters at finishing. But what I want to encourage you is that you can learn to do many of these techniques yourself. So I loved what she did there. And then, as I say, these pictures are going to be very, very small. And if I remember, I will try to remember to put the names in the description box below. There are a couple of people who I follow on Instagram who have the most beautiful vignettes. And one is, let's see, did I write them down? One is Joe Florence 8, and I say, oh, this is terribly small. But she always sets her pictures up with scissors and the fibers and accessories. They're absolutely stunning. And so I'm always so pleased when she stitches one of my pieces. So she stitched the Fleur de Alphabet, and this is a better picture, of course, of what that looks like when it's done. And then this, I think, I forgot to write it on the back of this one. I think this is Isabella. And she also has, you can see, look at the beautiful accessories that she put when she stitched the piece in her beautiful pale blue-gray frame. So it's always a delight to see things that I have designed that people are stitching. It's just such a treat. So my next, let's see, yes, let me write myself a note so I can remember to put the Instagram addresses below. It's always good if I remind myself of these things. So as I mentioned, my theme of the day is finishing rounds. And they actually are not that difficult. But I'm always on the lookout for things that I can use to accessorize that round design. So I'm going to move some things aside here. I'm going to show you a number of different things that I've purchased along the way. I'm going to show you some finished rounds that I have done, of course, of my designs. And then I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps of how you could do that yourself. So this actually was, somebody sent me a picture of a design of mine that they'd done, and they had finished it in this beautiful frame. And I haven't used it yet myself, but I'm thinking I will very soon. I just love it because it's a little easel frame. It was a Laura Ashley frame. I think I just went on Amazon and searched for it. So I loved that piece. This is one that I found at Hobby Lobby. You know, you always have to keep your eyes open there. And I think another person inspired this one. Think about how cute it would be to put a round design in the center of this flower. I loved that idea. Let's see here. I have also used, of course this is at Christmas time, the wooden snowflakes that come from Hobby Lobby, and I have mounted, I think I have a model to show you, yes. I have mounted my round designs in the center of this snowflake, and what I love about this is that it can sit on a desktop. Let's see. I've been wanting to do something with the tins, and I think I probably bought those in an antique market one day, but I think this would be darling with a little round Christmas design, and you could just mount it in there and then have it sitting on a table. And I've seen the tins used before. And then there are two, I have other things to show you before I show you my designs. I mentioned these once before. Chantel 141. Let me hold up her sign here. Makes wonderful round plaques that you could paint or stain, and those would be perfect for my round designs, especially the ones worked over two. And then I also have a product that I've used before, although, sorry, I'm going to have to get this out of the bag. I can't find any of my models that are finished on this, but I know I've done one. I think I did my stitching in the round. So I carry these little wooden scalloped plaques that come from France. And let's see if you can see here. So here is stitching in the round that has been mounted on this, and it just fits perfectly, as I say, like on a 28 or 32 over 2. And this is what, about 5.5 inches across. So those are some of the products that are possible for finishing, and then I'm going to show you some actually some pieces that I've had done that I really love, that are other ideas for you. So this is Kitties in the Round. Let's see, is it upside down? Yes, it is. And the booklet looks like this. Let's see, it's done on a 32 count, and over 2 it's for just a little over 4 inches around. So I have bought in the past, let's see if I can get the lid off of this one. Yeah, there we go. Just the paper mache boxes that come from Hobby Lobby. Actually, I think they sell like a nest of boxes. You can spray paint them. You can line the bottom of them with scrap paper, or scrapbook paper rather, and then not only do I finish the design on the top of the box, but then I also usually put a surprise on the inside of the box. So I'll take one of the motifs that's in the sampler and stitch it again and just mount it on a round disc. And so this one, let's see if I can put it back together here. So this has been finished with a twisted cording around the edge, and I'll talk about that in a little while. The scrapbook paper again was used as kind of a border on the lip of the box, and then just a little piece of ribbon. But that just makes such a cute finish, and I've used that several times. And this is the same design, kitty design, that is worked over 1. And this is just finished as a flat, so I will tell you about that in a few minutes, but I'm going to be mounting the front with 1 piece of fabric and the back with the lining fabric. Here is another example of another size paper mache box. This is Doggies in the Round. Again, I just spray painted the outside of it, used a scrapbook. Let's see, here's the little design that's on the inside of this box. And so I basically did the very same thing that I described in the kitten finish. And that, let's see, this is what the Doggies in the Round looks like as a finish. And you know, just finish them in any color stitch them in any color you want. For some people, you know, you have to choose what you love, and you have to love what you do when you're stitching, right? So here's another idea for finishing a round. This is Halloween in the Round, and actually I was in Hobby Lobby last week. Oh, they're getting out their fall things. I even saw a few Christmas things. You want to go, no, don't do that yet. But they happen to have these pumpkin, just wooden pumpkins. I spray painted this to go with the design, and I just think it looks great as a finish because, again, it can sit on a table. So this is what the Halloween in the round looks like in the booklet form, and then that's just mounted on a pumpkin. And actually, they have quite a few usually in the fall. I've bought other wooden pumpkins there that work really well for finishing the rounds. And you have to think kind of out of the box. The piece that you choose to finish your round design on doesn't have to be round. It can be obviously another shape that round piece just looks nice on. I meant to pull the book for this and I forgot to. So this actually, I'm sorry to say, has fallen apart in trunk show shipments. This is actually a clock, and it had a darling little hook on the top of it. It has broken off, and I was trying to find it before I showed it to you to fix it, and who knows where it is. It's lost in transition, right? But if you watch Kim with Contented Stitcher on FlossTube, she just has wonderful things. She has finished a lot of her designs using clock faces, and they're just charming. So think about that as another possibility. Here's another idea, and that is just using a small easel, with a little clip on it, and I just clipped the round design. This is birds in the round to the front of the easel. Again, not a round shape, but it works, and this is what the booklet looks like for that. And let's see, what else do I have to show you? Oh, I've got quite a few actually that fall into this category. So I have shown these to you in the past, but it's always good to review. This comes out, of course, in the Hobby Lobby Christmas display, and it's a package of 3 little wooden ornaments. You can spray paint it, and I want to show you my model of this because I used I'm going to set that down so that I can show you the front of the book, first of all. So I used Alphabet in the Round. Any of round ornament designs that are in my collection booklets could be used, but in this case I used the Alphabet in the Round. You can see I spray painted it green. What I love about it is it looks like a wreath, so I've covered the lettering in the center and then just mounted the design in the center of that wreath shape. And I've used this several times. You could make it other colors, obviously. It just makes such a cute ornament. So that's another suggestion for you. This one I've also shown you in the past. This is one of the wooden boxes that comes from Hobby Lobby. They're in the unfinished wood section. All you have to do is spray paint them, and again I just put some fabric on the inside, and then I just choose a little motif to go on the inside lid of the box. And this design happens to be Winter in the Round, and that's been stitched over too. I've used this box quite a few times because it's such an easy finish, and all you have to do is cover your board with your design. You don't have to do any backing, and just glue it to the top of the box. And again, it uses cording around the outside edges. So I've got 3 or 4 more to show you. I told you I had a lot. So this is a smaller version of the snowflake that I showed you earlier. And so this is Winter in the Round done over 1. And it just makes such a unique finish for one of the round designs. This is, I did not bring up the whole piece, but when I show it to you, you'll understand. This is Owls in the Round. Again, it was finished on a lid, and this is actually a lid that fits in. It's got a nice little lip on the inside. It actually fits into a glass jar. So you could take that glass jar and fill it with fall candy or little acorns, something like that. And again, it's just mounted on the lid. The inside has an extra little design, and this is what Owls in the Round looks like. I don't even want to think about fall yet, but I know some people love fall and Halloween and all of those things. So, all right. Let's see, did I pull out the box for this one? Yes. All right, so here's another example of a lid, and it's very similar to the one that I just showed you. Again, this was a canister that came from Hobby Lobby. This is Love in the Round, and you can see, as I told you before, it has a real nice little lip on the back side of it, and so it fits quite nicely into the top of this little canister. And this is what the Love in the Round looks like. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with possibilities here. And this is the last sample for you. So, oh, here's the Around France booklet. I used that wooden ornament that I talked to you about before and just spray painted it. That goes with that model. All right, and the last idea that I have for you, and again, you know, sometimes you just have to look around and kind of use your imagination. This was a plaque that I was able to find. It had wording in the center, but I loved the fact, again, that it looked like a wreath around the outside edge. And another Hobby Lobby piece. And this is from Christmas in the Round. So it makes just such a nice finish. And that's the fun part of doing small cross-stitch designs, is trying to find a way to finish them that really truly looks unique. So now I'm going to walk through, try to clear my desk a little bit here. I want to show you just the steps of how I finish around. And as I said, it's not going to be a complex demonstration. I always, as I say, I'm not a professional finisher. Watch Vanna Pfeiffer, the Twisted, is that what it is? The Twisted Stitcher, I think it is. Beautiful finishing videos. Kathy with Hands-On Design has wonderful finishing tutorials. And there are a number of other people who offer them also. But it's fun just to share what I know with you, and I'm happy to do that. So, first of all, what you're going to do, let me grab a sample here. So here's a model. I'm not sure why I haven't finished this, but it was France in the Round. And the first thing you're going to need to do is to measure the width, of course, of that circle, because you're going to want to cut a circle out of what I use. In fact, I just got a phone call yesterday from someone saying, I have one of your kits. It didn't include the comic board. And she said, I don't know, what's comic board? Where do I get it? So I've talked about this before. First of all, it comes in a sheet that's about 8.5 by 10. You can buy it at comic book stores. You can get it on Amazon. And the only reason that I know that this works so well is that one of my professional finishers uses this to finish everything. And why does she use comic board? It is not as heavy as mat board, which is harder to cut. You have to use a knife to cut it. It is a little sturdier, quite a bit more sturdier than poster board, which is quite floppy. And you're able to cut this with scissors. So you're going to laugh, but sometimes I have to approach things in a logical way. So if I decided that my round was 3 inches across, or 4 inches, I think it was in this case, I'm going to need something to draw a circle with. And so I use, just a little old-fashioned compass that we used, in 7th grade. And I always draw, this is the funny part, a square first. It's somehow easier to draw the square before I try to draw the circle, because I can tell you from doing this, so you're going to want to mark the very center of your square. At least that's how I do it, before I draw my circle. Because when I draw my circle, and I'm going to try to show you here, sometimes this little tool wants to wobble a bit. And so if I have outside lines already on there, then I know that my circle has stayed in the right size. And so after I draw the circle, then I'm going to cut that out with scissors. So then the next step is going to be, before I mount my design over my circle, let's see, somewhere I have a little tiny sample here, I like to put a little batting or something to give it just a little shape across the top of it. And there are 2 things that I use that, rather than batting, like quilt batting, I know you can get a very flat quilt batting, I am going the simple route here. So I have often used the peel and stick felt, and again, I would take my circle. You've made a template out of your cardboard. now you can not only cut out this circle, but you're going to cut out a circle of your felt and just, peel off the back of it and layer that on top of the circle. That gives it a little batting. If that isn't heavy, thick enough for you, you could do 2 layers of this felt. This felt that with the peel and stick back is fairly thin. Or another thing that I like to use is they also make, and I get this at Hobby Lobby, a premium felt that's just a little bit thicker. I like the weight of this, and that is often, again, I would make a circle using my template. I'd cut out that, and then I would glue that batting or felt to the top of my cardboard template. So if you can picture all of that, sometimes let's see, do I have any samples here? Yes, I did. Sometimes you're going to need to make more than one circle. If you're going to be backing it with the contrasting fabric, I would make a circle for the front, another circle for the back, because that's 2 separate pieces that you are going to be putting together. So I'm going to show you just a very simple one that is actually in process. This is from, I always have to think about, where is this from? This is from the 12 Days of Christmas booklets. And so here's my cardboard. And I don't think this doesn't feel like it has batting on it. I'm not going to take it apart, but I wanted you to see what the back looks like. One of the things that I'm going to encourage you is when you cut out your design that is going to be wrapped around to the back around your circle, I'm going to encourage you to leave more margin than you think you should, because you don't want to be short. We've done that before. We've cut something too close, and then it's very hard to get all the edges around so that you're not too close to the edge of your stitching. So I would give myself, so here's the edge of this, I would give myself at least 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. And you can always, after you've glued it to the back, you can always trim some of that excess out from the back of the piece, but you do not want to run short. So that's just one little hint. Now I know that some people, in order to get that perfect circle shape, they will run a basting thread, just maybe 1/2 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch from the edges of your design that you've cut out, and that you can draw that basting thread up and then insert your cardboard in the center of that. I actually don't usually take that step, especially with my small pieces. I usually run, and I'll show you the glues that I use. I use either Aleene's No Sew fabric glue, or also her original tacky glue. Both of those seem to work well. So I'll run a bead of that around the edge here before I fold. Can you see that? My edges into the center. And I try to really, first of all, you have to look at the front to make sure that you're centering it correctly, but then I fold it and pinch it, and I try to make sure that I don't have any lumps and bumps. You want this whole edge to be smooth, although most of the time you're going to cover that edge with some kind of a trim. So, but it's always nice not to have too many lumps along that edge. So you've glued your stitched piece to your comic board, and then you're going to do the same thing. If you have a backing, you're going to glue that to your second piece of board, and then you're just going to sandwich them together. And I usually hand stitch those 2 pieces together. You could glue them, but if you're putting on anything that has to be hand stitched along the edges, sometimes that glue can cause problems when you're trying to hand stitch. You don't want to be hand stitching through a little glob of glue. That's not easy at all, is it? So most of the designs that I showed you were just simply mounted as flat on top of something else. But of course, the ornaments always have a backing on the back side of them. So let's see, what have I also, oh, I know, there's one other thing. I saw this on a floss tube video recently, and I thought, oh, that's clever. So it turns out that Aileen now has a clear tacky glue that is in a pen shape. And how perfect is that? Because then you can get just a small bead of your glue all the way around the edge. So I'm probably making you dizzy as you watch this, but that's, I think it's a fairly new product, and I thought that was great. So what else do I know what I need to tell you about? All right, so what kinds of supplies do you need to have in order to start this process? You're going to need a comic board, your compass, your fabric glue, your fabrics for backing, your batting, your trims, and I'm going to show you trim possibilities, scissors, a ruler. Sometimes we add buttons or charms to the design, and that's always fun to look for. And then another hint that I have for you when I'm doing my finishing is I always have a wet cloth nearby, because inevitably you get glue on your fingers. You don't want to get that on the front of your work. So I have that cloth nearby so I can wipe my fingers off and keep on with the gluing process. So I know that most of you know about these companies, but it's always good to review them. So there are some fantastic trims that are being hand dyed these days, and there are two companies. I'm going to write myself a note to put those at the base. And okay, and they are Dames of the Needle. And so some of the finishing that I really like to use are the little pom-pom trim, and these come of course in all different colors. She makes a rickrack that comes, this is Dames of the Needle again, in several different sizes. She also, I just used the wide rickrack on my little Stitchy box. Here's a wide rickrack. And then I'm going to show you, let me pull this over here. Lady Dot Creates, of course, also has beautiful trims. She too does the pom-pom trims, gorgeous colors. This is Jack, perfect for Halloween and fall designs. This would be her Union color, perfect for patriotic designs. And Lady Dot Creates has a website. Actually, both these companies have websites, and you can order the trims, and she has rickrack also, which I didn't pull out, on their website. Another thing that's wonderful to use as a trim is the hand-dyed chenille. Here's also in that color Union. And here is one of the best colors for Christmas ornaments is Lois's Sizzle, Red Sizzle. This is a chenille also. So those make wonderful, wonderful trims for your round designs. And then I have one other thing to show you. And again, I've done, I did a demonstration of this, but I don't know what video it's in. I might have to go back and look for it. But another tool that I absolutely love to use, because it's called a mini cording drill. It's made by Kreinik. You can find it online. And it makes the most perfect twisted cording. And you can use any color. You can make your cording thicker or thinner depending on your project, as long as you want. There's a formula for making it. It is not hard to do. Sometimes you have to practice to get good at doing it, but it's not rocket science. So those are the suggestions that I have for finishing a round, and I hope that was somewhat helpful for you today. All right, quick water drink. And all right, so I always like to do a shop of the week, and this time I chose a shop called Accents Incorporated. It's in Meterie, Louisiana, It's owned by a mother-daughter combination. It's Angela and Gail. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this. They've been in business for a long time. They have tons of patterns, tons of models. They are a very good customer of mine. You can see the address. It's 4500 Shores Drive, Suite 103. Here is her email, accentsink@gmail.com. And her, oh, you know what? I think I have too many 8s on here. I just looked at her phone number, 888-2458. So I'm going to urge you, if you're looking for something, to give them a call. I know they'll be so appreciative. So each time I do a video, I usually try to give a few prizes out. And the prizes that, if your name is called, you can choose any one of the titles that I showed you in my video today. So my 3 prize winners today are D. Johnson 4. The second one is it's Catherine and Shed, it says. And that was all one word. And then the last winner is Jean Tompkin. So if you hear your name announced, just email me. That's the best way to reach me, Judy@JBWDesigns.com. I mentioned my friends page. I have a web page. It's kind of out of date, but I do have a shop on my web page, and that's JBWDesigns.com. And then my Instagram account is Judy.Whitman. So that is my program for this week, and I always like to end with a little quotation, and then I'll tell you what my future plans are. So my husband and I subscribe to something on Facebook that a friend told us about, and I love it. It's called Nice News. And every day they send you just interesting articles about many, many things going on in the world, and it's always positive. And I love that. I love the stories. It's just fun to read something that's good. And so they often have a quote at the end, and this one I borrowed from their page. And I love this quote. It's each friend represents a world in us, a world possibly not born until they arrive. And it is only by this meeting that a new world is born. And that's how I feel about my friends on FlossTube. I mean, you're just lovely, wonderful people, and I know that if we met in person, we would have such a good time together. So the only thing I have to tell you about going forward is that I am going to StitchCon, and that begins next Thursday. So I'm very excited about that. I went last year, anxious to see old friends and make new friends. So come and say hello if you're there. And I hope to see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.